It's been a while since we did a breakdown, so I'm pretty excited. If you haven't watched that wedding film, Jess and Moritz, please do so. Everything is gonna make more sense if you watch that ahead of this. I'll link in the description down below. Today is the wedding of Jess and Moritz, and by the looks of it, it's gonna be a beautiful day. It's gonna be amazing. Alright, Jess and Moritz. We weren't able to set up a meeting to talk about what they wanted for their wedding video. Although I've met them a few times as guests of other weddings I've filmed. But based on information relayed to me by their planner Amanda, she wanted the vibe and feel of her wedding quite chill, very organic and free-flowing. Really right up my alley. It was mentioned that she didn't even want to walk down the aisle by herself. She wanted to walk with Moritz. That in itself is very, very telling. Very few brides would want that. It's usually their moment, their time to shine, but she opted not to. It wasn't a big deal for her, and that tells me, yep, this wedding is gonna be chill AF. It's not going to follow structure, which is good and a bad thing. It's gonna be more organic, but you gotta be ready for surprises. As an example, in the middle of us suppliers having dinner, the guests just decided spontaneously, off the cuff, to do speeches. So we had to rush back. It's no biggie, it is what it is. Jess is big on Instagram. She knows the platform, she understands imagery. She knows how to present herself and is extremely knowledgeable with visual looks and styles. She requested for film to be used by the photographers, again, quite uncommon, and that hinted in the direction I wanted to go with the film and even the tools I wanted to use for the shoot. More on that later. See where I'm getting at? Little bits of information helping me to decide how to approach the wedding film. The original crew count for this wedding started from 4 to 3 to 2. It's the nature of destination weddings these days. A 2-person crew it is. That means a leaner and lighter equipment list. Anything not necessary does not make that list. Approaching Sunlight Ecotourism Island Resort via boat was an experience I missed.
Thank you, sir. Yay! Welcome! The gaffles!
Okay.
Guests greeting guests.
Guys, what is this?
Orange
This is
is basically
everyone gets the top of this. They're in the room.
make sure it's
Are you
super
kidding
sticky.
me?
You got it?
Perfect.
Okay. Where's yours, man?
No, tomorrow.
And a lot of friends seeing their friends for the first time in a long time. And for that tiny moment, you forgot that there was a global pandemic. Later that afternoon, the couple hosted a cruise around the island. We took quite a bit of footage, but as you noticed, only a few of these shots got into the final edit. Everybody had a great time, yes, but I felt that it didn't really fit into the bigger picture of the wedding edit. That's why for pre-wedding activities, I always ask if there are people giving speeches or toasts. I have a better chance of incorporating stuff like that rather than people just drinking and eating. Okay, here are the tech specs. Lumix S5's 10-bit 422 on Vlog, 1080p for most of the preps, and 4K at the ceremony, so I'm able to punch in during the edit. I decided on Vlog for the shoot to take advantage of the dynamic range afforded by the profile, and so I can push colors further in post. I knew it was going to be a beach wedding, so I didn't want to lose detail in the background. I intended to recover every bit of information in the sky. On our cameras were Deity D3 Pros to capture the best audio possible on board.
You are my best friend, you are my partner, and from today, I'll finally be able to call you my husband.
We used ND filters the whole day so we can settle on a base native ISO, which was 640 during the daytime and 4000 during evening, to maintain a very shallow depth of field and correct shutter speed. I also made things interesting as well for the shoot. You know, just to keep things exciting. I went with vintage lenses, vintage glass, for today's shoot. I have zero modern lenses, except for one. I'm gonna talk about that later. 50mm 1.2. This is the 135. This is the longest lens that I brought. The 24mm 1.4. The only modern lens that I brought is the 50mm 1.05 from 7 Artisans. So I brought that along to mix with the FD glass. I think it's gonna mix well. So all of that is adapted to my S5's FD to L. By the way, shout out Manila Vintage Primes for the adapters. I wanted lenses which translated the organic vibe of the wedding better. The Sigma L mount primes for me are super clinical and flat. My old FD lenses are more filmic. Bokeh is creamier. The coatings on the lenses and the lack thereof lend a more cinematic feel to the footage. Highlight roll-off is much better. These lenses have character. I don't find it a coincidence that so many people noted the grading and the feel of this piece. That rare time that I used vintage glass. Very fascinating. Another thing to note, my longest lens was a 135mm used at the ceremony. After watching the video, a lot of people mentioned that there was a certain rawness to the feel and edit of the video. Besides the edit, I feel this is a product of the lens choices I made. Most were shot on short focal lengths, like a 35 and a 50 at most. So instead of long third-party, observer, voyeuristic angles, we were forced to get in a little bit closer, like a person part of the action and events, right smack in the middle of everything happening. Not an intruder, but a welcome guest. I opted to just really move in just a little bit and make the viewer feel that, hey, I'm part of this celebration, I'm part of this wedding. If you notice, the master shot of the vows was wider than usual. That's because I was on a 50mm. I just punched in a bit more with the 4K footage to make the composition better. Of course, the downside is that wide shots like these tend to get obstructed, but nothing a gentle tap or a loving caress can't fix. I love you, Nelwyn Oy. And to a certain extent, the very conscious decision of not using a gimbal also led to that documentary and raw feel. Now, I can't do this for every wedding. Some are just too big and not as intimate to be penetrable. Some venues need sweeping camera movement. Some weddings require a sense of bigness and epicness. This is not that kind of wedding. It was simple and intimate. I also embraced the challenge of having only fixed manual lenses for the shoot. I'm a Lumix guy. That's how I roll. I let my tools and approach set the mood and assist me in telling the story.
So it's just me and Lord for today. Lord help us.
I took care of accessories and other objects, the establishing shots and groom prep. I was also main cam for the ceremony and reception. Lord took care of the bride prep, second angle for the ceremony, and the portraits as well. Honestly, we've been doing this together for so long that it takes all of 2 minutes for us to understand what our respective roles are. For this shoot, we never really deviated from our playbook. Candids through and through. Melt in the background. Key in on the conversations. Be alert. Make people comfortable. Make things painless and easy. Very important. Capture the feeling and emotion. And it doesn't hurt to have a good time. Okay, so one consistent thing that I've been asked is how I acquire great audio for the ceremonies we shoot. I'm gonna show you our audio kit. This is from Lazada, less than 200 pesos. Zoom, H5, backup audio, Tascam, speaker audio. This is the HDTX. I'm gonna get a feed later from the mixer, and I'm gonna record via the internal SD card. First option for me is to always hook up audio with the sound guys, whether it's the reception or the ceremony.
You are the most loving and generous person that cares more about herself than about others.
Previously, I've used Zooms and Tascams. Those are still fine. But for the past 3 years, I've settled on Deities. Recording quality is excellent and the batteries are built in. I used to spend so much money on alkaline AAs. Plus, with the HDTX, I get to both record the audio on the device and transmit a signal to my camera with a Duo RX. I get a clean recording on the device plus a backup recording on my camera. Redundancy is key. I placed a third cam at the center aisle during the ceremony as safety. It was set to f5.6 at a low angle to keep from distracting the guests. When I had the chance, even though I was main cam, I also took reaction shots of the guests on my side of the aisle as well. To be honest, and I know many people will agree, editing is the hardest part of putting together a wedding video. It's putting together seemingly random shots to create something beautiful and compelling. So I review the raw footage that I have, checking what I have to work with. I listen to most of the spoken word first, and that includes church audio from the vows and the message by Arthur, our pastor. As early as this part, I'm already picking out things I may use in the edit, pre-cutting.
But if there's one decision in my life that I always knew was the right one, it is to spend the rest of my life with you, because I love you with all my heart.
I listen to the emotional bits. I listen to well-delivered lines, powerful statements, things that will move the story forward. I try really hard to keep my virtual workspace neat. So I have a main sequence for the actual edit and other sequences for cutting the raw footage, preps, ceremony, portraits, speeches. By going through the footage, I'm able to decide how I'll build the edit, how I'll start, how I'll end, what parts to highlight, and what to take out altogether. I'm also a fan of brevity in my edits. For example, I only need 2 or 3 shots to put together a sequence of the bride or groom dressing up. I don't need any more than that, especially if it adds nothing to the story. There's no point in stringing a 60-second sequence of a guy putting on a jacket. That's just me. I used film borders for an extra hit of nostalgia for the opening montage. I know, not the most original thing, but I'm not tired of it. Yet. This montage sets the mood, draws footage from the day 1 cruise to the ceremony to the crazy party at the end. It's a mini movie in itself. And it starts with a question.
Who knew that going to the worst student bar in town on a rainy Tuesday evening to celebrate your friend's birthday can actually lead to us standing here on an island in the Philippines 10 years later getting married?
An edit for me is also a careful balancing act, a push and a pull. You have close-ups, you have wides, you have music, but don't forget natural audio.
That's nice.
Listen to the sound of the thunder.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rubble.
It's there, the weather's coming from here.
There's increased pace, and then there's languid long takes.
It is the coming together of Jess and Moritz.
You make them cry, but make them laugh as well.
We can safely assume that since Jess' IG account was created, Rizzo has been taking an astonishing number of 18,127 pictures. And that makes him a worthy husband.
Take your viewers for a ride, a roller coaster with its ups and downs. This was graded using Lumetri on Premiere, proceeded to correct the footage, and stacked on LUTs to achieve the look that I wanted. There, I said it. I use LUTs. Unabashed, unashamed, no regrets. I wanted to preserve the natural colors, and yet I definitely wanted a filmic vibe. And of course, I really think, and this needs to be emphasized, the vintage lens choices really helped in achieving the look that I wanted. Alright guys, to sum up, this is not an end-all and be-all guide. It's a starting point. It's a springboard. This is how I approach weddings, and I hope you learn a thing or two. I do my research, I pick my tools, I film what's necessary, I find connections, I build a story, and make it beautiful. Please do like this video, and if you're feeling it, why not subscribe to the channel? It helps out the channel and motivates me to do more videos. Heaven knows I need that motivation. It's only been a year going this channel, and I honestly still don't know what to do with it. But one thing's for sure, I enjoy making these kinds of videos for you guys. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.